Hey everybody, welcome to Sewing Shortcut Sunday with Royal Fulani Living Sew School. We are here on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. We are, first and foremost, I'm Nina. I'm going to be your sew guide today and every weekend for Sewing Shortcut Saturday or Sunday. I am the lead creative and founder of Royal Fulani Living. We are a lifestyle and fashion brand, and it is inspired by my bicultural upbringing as a Senegalese and American. We create our own original African prints and we apply them to everyday products. So we also have our Royal Fulani Living Sew School, which is, of course, here today on YouTube. We're here today on YouTube. And that this is a passion project that I started based upon my 20 plus years experience as a fashion educator on a collegiate level, post-secondary level, and of course I've taught smaller children as well. But it's specifically for beginners, and the channel is geared towards beginners because there is a component in beginner sewing tutorials that is missing. And that is the component of removing the frustration, the anxiety, and the aspect of actually moving into making an actual garment and slowing things down a little bit for those of us who have learning differences, such as myself. So I'm someone who is a visual learner. I'm also a tactile learner. I need to see an example one step at a time, do that one step, then see the example for the next step and do that next step. So we are geared towards the novice sewer, non-sewer, and of course the neurodiverse sewer. And the reason why we are geared also towards neurodiverse sewers is because my experience in being a high school fashion educator, I found that there was a large percentage of my students who were neurodiverse. And I had to diversify my instruction as a fashion educator. And it is something that I feel passionate about. It is something that I absolutely want to share with the world. And the way that I'm doing that, of course, is signing up and setting up a Sew School channel on YouTube. And once again, we are here every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday at 12. And we also have a series of pre recorded sewing tutorials for the beginner sewer. We have everything from what machine should I buy as a beginner sewer to making a plain seam, which is basically just sewing a straight line. So we've broken everything down in what we call the chunking method to allow our beginner sewers who may need things at a different pace presented to them. And so we have our pre-recorded sewing tutorials on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, you name it. We're on every platform because we want to speak to every demographic because there are individuals of every generation, every age, every, I would say, professional background who just may want to learn how to sew. And so we are here for pretty much consistently everybody. So today we're going to focus on, we're doing a series on closures. And basically what a closure is, a garment closure, is anything that allows you to open and close the garment to put the garment onto your body. It could be a zipper, it could be buttons, it could be snaps, it could be Velcro. I don't recommend that unless it's something that specifically calls for that. But once again, I will always give you all instruction based upon my industry experience. So I'm teaching you based upon industry standards. I have 30 plus years of experience in the fashion industry, freelancing for various brands. I was a trend consultant for a trend consultancy in London, England. So my experience is vast, and I'm just excited to be able to share that experience with you, specifically through this area of teaching beginner sewers. So today we're going to focus on one specific closure, and that is snaps. So what I like to say about snaps is a lot of people don't consider snaps as their closure option for a garment because it looks a little complex when you see it on a garment. It does. It looks like, what is this? What am I supposed to use? Is there a tool? Is there some way that I'm supposed to do this? And today I'm going to demystify all of that. I'm going to take the mystery out of it. I'm going to take the frustration out of trying to understand how snaps work and how to apply them. We're also going to do it in sample form. So as you can see, those of you who have joined me week after week after week, or you look at our replays of our lives, we specifically break things down in sample form, not in garment form, because in order for you to understand how something works in a garment, you have to practice it first. So our motto is practice makes progress, not perfect. So I break things down in sample form. So each week we'll have a different sample. And then the following week or 2 weeks following, I'll show you how that specific sample is now applied to a garment. So for the past few weeks, we did seam finishes, which are how to finish off the raw edges of the inside of your seam allowance when you're making a seam and when you're sewing a garment. We also did specific seams. A few weeks ago, we showed you how to do a flat felt seam, which is also known as a denim seam or a jean seam. That is also on part of our pre-recorded content on our YouTube channel and on all of our social media platforms. So it is there for your viewing pleasure. We also showed you how to do a bias down seam finish, which a lot of people really love because it gives you options for hemming, or it gives you options for finishing off the raw edges of your seam allowance, but doing something that is a design accent. Instead of it being more functional and finishing, which you normally would see on the inside of a garment, you would see serging or overlocking or marrowing, or you would see some form of like clean finish. Bias down seam finishes allow you to add a design element to that. And snaps do the same thing. I'm a closure person. Like when I look at the details of a garment, I look at things like what's the pocket like? What opens and closes the garment? How do I get into it? And I just gravitate to those types of details that set certain garments apart from others when I'm purchasing something. But also, the way that I will teach you, I absolutely will show you based upon industry standards. And what that means is you'll be able to take a garment from your favorite retail store and your garment, put them next to each other, and you'll be able to see that the standards are the same. The way your garment is finished is the same way a retail garment would be finished. The way your garment is hemmed is the same way a retail garment would be hemmed. So I'm only going to teach you based upon industry standards. And it's perfect for my sewers, my beginner sewers, novice sewers, neurodiverse sewers who want to be more intermediate and advanced in sewing, and those of you who are interested in sewing to sell, which is actually doing samples and designing from an entrepreneurial level. So I'm teaching you based upon those standards because I want you to be able to sew to sell if that is something that you're interested in. And the quality of your sewing, if you're going to sell it, should be of a certain caliber. It shouldn't just be thrown together. It should be something that you're guessing on how to do. You should have industry standards so that you can sell something and make sure that it's at a proper price point so that you're selling it at a proper price point. And the way that happens is the quality of your garment determines your price point. So let's get started. So here we have our snaps, and I'm going to switch my screens as I always do, and I'm going to take you to my workspace. Okay. And once again, I'm just going to go over the supplies that you would need for this specific thing. And I'm going to sit this time so I can kind of see. So I'm going to take you guys through the process of what your supplies would be for you to use snap closure applications. Okay. So there's a few things that you absolutely need. So for those of you who may be thinking, okay, what exactly is a snap closure? So as you can see, I have my jacket that is purchased. Okay. And remember earlier when I talked about how when I'm choosing something to wear, when I'm choosing something for me personally, I look at the details. It could be the fabric, it could be how it closes, it could be how I get into it. It could be something as simple as an interesting way that the pocket is made. Like this is a welt pocket with a snap. Okay. And I really love this. I like the details of this. I like the clean lines and finish of this. It's not just a plain pocket, but there's a detail there that I absolutely am loving. And as you can see, they use the snap to basically open and close the pocket. Snaps will also give you the option outside of buttons. Okay, so we love buttons, but I want you to have options as a beginner sewer, because I feel like as beginner sewers, a lot of times we get the basics, but I want your basics to have a range of options. I want you to have a range of seam finishes that you can choose from, a range of seams that you can choose from, a range of closures that you can choose from. And one of the closures that I absolutely love, because it's the option outside of buttons, are snaps. So as you can see, I have this particular garment, which is a jacket, it snaps and zips up, which I absolutely love. Once again, the detail of this I really love. And so I'm going to show you all how to do practice putting snaps on. Now, what I highly recommend is this. If you are going to apply snaps to a garment, practice them first in a plain fabric that is similar to the garment's fabric that you're making. So once again, if you're going to practice something that you've never done before, if you're applying snaps, buttons, whatever it may be, I would highly recommend that you get scraps of, samples of, half a yard, a swatch of your actual fabric that you're making the garment out of, and practice that particular thing in a scrap, in a swatch of that fabric first before you actually do it on your garment. Because remember, once you do a closure like this in a garment, once you do it wrong, there's no way to fix it. So I feel like as beginners, we oftentimes rush you all into the garment making, the magic of garment making, instead of slowing things down and having you practice the things that actually go towards making a great garment. We push you into garment making, and there's sometimes you make mistakes that you just cannot go back from unless you remake the garment. So I try to help you avoid those pitfalls as a new sewer. Let's practice something first. Let's practice a zipper. Let's practice snaps. Let's practice making seams first in just a plain fabric that's similar to the fabric that you're going to use in your garment, and see how that works. Make the mistake in your practice first, in your practice swatch, your practice sample, and practice of the fabric. Make that mistake first instead of making it in the actual garment and then saying, oh shoot, what am I going to do? This is wrong and I can't fix it. So something as simple, but something as complex in execution as a snap, once you execute this wrong on a garment, it's pretty much a done deal. You can't go back and fix it. So I rather see you all as beginner sewers, novice sewers, those who have no sewing experience, practice something in muslin first or a sample fabric first, similar to the fabric that you're going to use. I'm going to put this to the side. So as you can see, once again, got my handy dandy muslin. This is a woven cotton, just like my jacket. It's the same fabric. So I'm going to practice my snaps in the woven fabric first. I'm going to go through the entire process, show you all marking, show you how to execute the snap, show you what tools you need to do that. Okay. So first things first, we need our muslin. Second, of course, we need our fabric scissors. Okay. Fabric scissors. Why we say we need fabric scissors? Fabric scissors. This is like your holy grail of scissors. Don't let your family use these for anything else. Put them away, hide them. They are only to be used for your projects for cutting fabric. The reason being is because your fabric scissors get dull when you start to cut them with other things like paper, or your kids cut, construction paper or whatever the case may be. So these are like, this is like your paintbrush or that thing that you absolutely positively need, that you should set aside, that you have one pair and you only use it specifically to cut fabric. So we've got our fabric scissors, we've got our magnetic pin cushion, which of course I always say to you all, I love this because just in case I get I buy my pins in bulk and they come in a big box, sort of like it's a mess. It's a mess for me to clean up. It's possible incident for my family to step on. So as you can see, as I drop those out, okay, all I want to do is take my magnetic pin cushion, go back, pick them up. I'm good to go. Okay, so that's why I highly recommend that for my beginners. We got number 2 pencil. I always recommend having some number 2 or mechanical pencils handy. And of course, our see-through ruler, which I highly recommend for beginner sewers. This is the best ruler for beginner sewers. I'm not going to tell you how many times I've taught beginners, and there were individuals, including myself, up until a certain point, who did not know how to read a ruler. So this allows you and gives you kind of like a really good understanding of how the ruler works. It breaks things down into increments, into squares, where I can count over 4 squares, and I know 4 squares over is a half an inch. I know 8 squares over is an inch, and then it gives me clear, concise markings. This is the ruler that you want as a beginner. So we have that there. Now, because we're working with snaps today, here is our snap kit, okay? I'll turn it that way so you can see it. This I believe I got this from Amazon. I have a lot of snap kits, but this is the one that I use with my beginner sewers when I taught high school. It's a great snap kit. It's Allritz, which, you know, pretty much the snap kits are consistent. If you get them from Joann's, if you get them from, I prefer to get an industrial sewing snap kit, because Joann's usually has the snap kits which are like for plastic snaps. We're not doing plastic snaps. You can use plastic snaps for design reasons, but I prefer to teach you based upon industry standards. Most garments that are sold that have snaps, the durable snaps are the metal snaps. So as you can see, this is silver. When I open up my case of snaps, of course, got my instructions, got my kit. I want to take this out. Okay. As you can see, I have my snap kit, okay? I want to open this up, and I just want to take a look at everything that's in here. And as you can see, this is a snap kit that is metal snaps for you to be used in any garment, home decor, a variety of projects that you can use this in. And it's an industry-based snap kit. So this is what you would see on a garment that you would buy that would be retail. 9 times out of 10, you would see the durable metal snaps, and those are the ones that I want to teach you all with, and those are the ones that you can use. Now, don't forget, a lot of these methods that I'm teaching you, you could also use for home decor. You're not making apparel, that's fine. You could use for home decor. You could use for upholstery. You could use for a variety of projects. So the standards that I'm teaching you are industry standards, and so that can be used all the way across the board, because the principles of sewing don't change depending on what you're making. They just don't. Like your materials might change, your technique might change a little bit, but the principles of sewing don't change based upon whatever you're doing. So as you can see, we have our snap kit, and I'm gonna just take this, I'm gonna lay out my tools, okay? I'm an instructions person. Like, I don't care how advanced I get or how much experience I have. I am a total instructions person. Like, I like to look at the instructions. I like to see which company is telling me what to do, because some companies will give you different ways of doing things. Some companies will give you different tools. So this is a standard snap kit set. So it's giving me like 9 steps, 9 easy steps or ways to basically apply snaps. So what I want to do first is this. I'm going to just put this to the side, and I want to start with the basics of what I will need to actually apply the snaps. And the basis of what I'll need to apply the steps, we're going to make a sample almost of like the center front placket of a jacket or a shirt. So what's a placket? Placket is the center front of your garment, this front panel piece, long piece on right side and left side of any garment, shirt, jacket. That is where you apply your buttons, where you apply your zippers, where you apply your snaps, where you apply your closures to open and close the garment for you to put the garment on and take it off. So the placket, center front placket, runs at the center front of the body. It's where you zip up your jacket, snap up your jacket. Wherever that closure is on the center front, that is your placket. So we're gonna create a makeshift sample placket out of muslin so we can practice our snaps on just a placket first, okay? So what I wanna do first is I want to grab my muslin. You guys know the drill, all right? So what we do is lay out a small portion of my muslin. I wanna get my ruler, okay? I wanna find the 4-inch mark on my ruler. I want to lay the 4-inch mark of my ruler on the raw edge of my muslin. I want to lay this line of my ruler with my selvage, which is the bound finish edge of my fabric. Remember, the selvage is like gold. Don't cut your selvage off. Don't let someone sell you yardage without the selvage. That's a no-no. So if you see someone cutting and they're cutting this way and cutting your selvage off and selling you yardage from here up, That's a mistake. Stop them, okay? You want your selvage to remain on your fabric when you buy it. You want your selvage to remain intact at all times when you're using it. So what we do is we measure along the selvage. We never cut perpendicular to the selvage or crossways of the selvage, which would be considered cross grain. We want to make sure that we're cutting and we're snipping into the selvage crosswise, and then we're snipping and ripping and going up along the raw edge. But we want to maintain our selvage on the entire bolt. We want the selvage to stay in place. So what I want to do is take my 4-inch marking, lay that on the raw edge of my fabric, of my muslin. I want to measure in 4 inches. I want to take my ruler, make a small mark, okay? Then, okay, here we go. This is the mistake a lot of beginners make. Don't cut your woven fabric. If your woven fabric is woven the way it should be woven, you should be able to snip and rip your fabric. Do not cut your fabric. What do I mean by that? I mean, don't do that, okay? What you want to do is find the mark that you made. Snip into that mark, okay? And rip whatever you need, okay? This can be 2 yards, it can be a half a yard, 10 yards, 20 yards, whatever it is. You measure it out, you mark, snip, and rip, okay? I have my panel, and that's all I need. I didn't waste any muslin. I didn't waste any fabric. I didn't make a janky cut going up with my scissors, because remember, I can't cut straight with my scissors unless I make a line, and it's unnecessary to go through that process, okay? So I'm just gonna put my muslin to the side. I have my panels, okay? What I wanna do is I want to now put these together, because what you're gonna need is you're going to need four by 10-inch muslin panels. You're gonna need four by 10-inch muslin panels. And this is what we're gonna need to practice our snaps, okay? So what I wanna do is take my selvages, 1, 2, line them up together, okay? I want to take a pin and just run a pin through my selvages, keep them together, there, okay? Then what I wanna do is kind of smooth this out as best as possible. Now, remember, practice makes progress, okay? My goal is to get you to a garment that you could wear or someone else can wear, okay? But my goal is to get you to a garment that not only does the exterior of the garment look amazing, but the interior of the garment looks amazing. So when you take your jacket off, your shirt off, your dress off, and someone's seeing the interior of the garment, it's equally as well made as the exterior. That's our goal, okay? So what I wanna do is take my ruler again. I need four by 10-inch muslin panels. So what I'm doing, wrong side, let me go this way, find my 10-inch mark on my ruler, lay my 10-inch mark on my ruler, on my selvage, and lay it flat, measure up, make a mark, okay, here, okay, and I'm gonna go just make this go straight across, and go here, okay. Now, don't cut your panels in singles, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean, layer your panels to cut them all at one time, okay? Don't cut one and then cut another one and then cut another one, okay? That's unnecessary. We have to work smart, not hard, but we want it to be accurate. So what I want to do is first, okay, I want to pin these two panels together. As you can see, pin these two panels together. Make sure your pins run, okay, perpendicular, going that way. Then what I want to do is take this, just smooth it out and fold it. And just remember, this is just a sample, okay? I don't want you to worry about perfection. I need 4 panels. So I'm just lining this up as best as I possibly can. Okay, and I'm gonna run another pin through this, all the way through, all 4 layers, like that, okay? Then I'm gonna take my fabric scissors and I'm just going to, and I need to stand and do this so I can see. I like to stand over my piece when I'm cutting, and I want to just cut through very carefully all 4 layers. Stay on my line. Take my time, okay? Get that out of the way. Take my pins out. Okay, I've got off 1, okay, 2, and this one, I have a fold. Don't worry about that, okay? What I want to do is open this up, take my ruler. I'm a person, I believe in accuracy, okay? I don't believe in just randomly cutting things without marking and making precision with lines and markings, various marking tools that we have for sewing. I don't believe in just randomly cutting things, okay, or rough cutting, unless it's a pattern and I'm cutting patterns to get to a certain place in pattern making. So I'm going to cut on my line. Take your time. Okay, so I've got my 4 panels. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I have 4 by 10-inch panels. 4 by 10-inch panels. Okay, now all this framing drives me bananas, but it's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with certain fabrics that just have a tendency to fray, and wovens a lot of times have a tendency to fray. So I'll just try to get rid of as many as these stray threads as I possibly can. And next, what I want to do is I'm going to introduce my interfacing. Okay, what is interfacing? Interfacing is, and I'll bring this over so you can see. Okay, this is interfacing. All right. What interfacing is interfacing gives your fabric structure so that you can apply a buttonhole, apply buttons, execute a zipper, apply snaps. It gives the fabric structure, because if you think about it, if I think about this fabric just in general, it's very flimsy, very lightweight, okay? If I want to add structure to this fabric, I need to give it some tooth, or I need to add interfacing to be able to do that, okay? So there are several types of interfacing. This interfacing that I'm specifically using today is woven fusible interfacing, okay? So there's a couple different other ones that I won't mention because I don't want you guys to get confused until we get to those. But this is woven fusible interfacing. This is what you want to use when you're trying to create structure in the front of your garment so that you can apply a zipper, or so that you can punch holes in the fabric and have structure so that it's not a flimsy, lightweight hole where this is just gonna fall right out. If I was to have an x-ray and look through here, I would probably see some fusible interfacing inside of here that allows me to have the structure for my zipper to be applied and the structure for my snap to go in, okay? So, and I can kind of see it through the snap a little bit. There's a little bit of a white fiber that's on the inside of there. You can kind of like lightly see it. I can tell there's interfacing in there, and this, I didn't even make this. This is a retail jacket, but I can tell based upon industry standards, there's interfacing in every placket center front where you have buttons, where you have snaps, where you have zippers. There's some form of interfacing to allow you to have structure to be able to apply those things to lighter weight fabric. So it gives your lightweight fabric structure, okay? So I have my fusible, woven fusible interfacing that I'm gonna use today. I already have one layer that's already off, okay? It comes on a roll, it comes on a bolt, it comes on a longer roll, it comes in yardage, depending on what you need it for. Today, when I'm making samples, I usually just get a small roll. I got this from Amazon. It maybe was $8. But what you want to see is on one side, see how it looks like your muslin, okay? It's woven like your muslin. But on the other side is adhesive or glue, okay? You can't really see it, but you can feel it, okay? When you're touching it, it's obvious that one side has the glue or the adhesive, and it's a little bit shinier than the other side. And then one side is just plain fabric like your muslin, okay? So I'm going to need 2 panels of this, okay? What I want to do is, I'm trying to see if I have enough for 2. Now I'm going to actually take this out. and want to get a new piece and see if I have enough for 2. I do. Okay. So what I want to do is same thing. I'm not sure with my interfacing, like I've snipped and ripped interfacing before. I try not to do it, but I'm not going to do it with this. I'm just going to measure it and cut it. Okay. Take my see-through ruler. Just going to make a straight line, parallel line. One line of my ruler is on the edge of this, and the other line of my ruler is on the other side. Move this over. Okay, so here, just want to make sure I'm cutting it so it's long enough. So here and here, and I draw a line. There, okay. And again, fabric scissors. Yes, I use my fabric scissors for my interfacing. Let's get rid of this. So I can use my fabric scissors for my interfacing because my interfacing is like a fabric. So I just want to cut on the line. Okay, and put my interfacing to the side. Okay, and what I want to do next is this. I just want to fold this in half. I want to have this like this. No, I cannot iron this yet, so I don't want to put my iron to this yet. I just want to take one of my panels of muslin, just one, okay? And I'm going to cut this. Once again, we're cutting in layers. Don't cut in singles, cut in layers, okay? I just want to line up my selvage edge to the edge of my interfacing, and I want to pin. Make sure your pins are going perpendicular to your seam, okay? Or perpendicular to your edge. The reason being is this, because when you pin like this, you pinch and you pin, okay? When you pin like that, we don't want to do that. The reason being is because look what I just did. I just took up some excess fabric that I didn't need to take up. That's one, eventually going to create issues with my fit when I have the garment made, okay? Because this little increment of ease makes a world of difference in a garment. So no, I don't want my pins to run parallel. I don't want to pin. I see a lot of beginners doing this, pinning like this and going along your edge. No, always pin perpendicular to your edge. Pin perpendicular to your edge. Take this out. Okay, here, here, and I want my selvage to line up with my hair. And you know what? I want to take this piece. I want a selvage piece. I want a nice selvage piece. So here we go. That just gave me a raw edge. It was cut so well, I thought it was a selvage piece. So there we go. So line my selvage up. I want to pin perpendicular to my edge. Pin perpendicular to my edge. Don't pin along, pin perpendicular, okay? Smooth, okay? And a lot of times I'll hear beginners say, it's hard, pinning is hard, it hurts my fingers. What you want to do is hold the piece down that you're pinning. Hold it with your one finger. Press like you're going to press into the table, press, and then like you're going to stick your finger, but you're not, okay? And that should come out there. Okay, you don't want to be over your edge either, because if you're over your edge, you can't cut over the pin. So smooth and pin. Okay, I always like to smooth out from the center and pin my edges first. Okay, so here, pin. Okay, I'm just going to add a few more pins. I don't need a lot of pins. Some people use weights. That's fine. You'll see some people are a little bit more intermediate advanced, use weights. Weights are fine as well. I prefer weights when I'm cutting a pattern. I don't prefer weights when I'm actually doing things like this. I prefer to have it pinned, have it be in place. Just in case I got to get up and go real quick. I don't want to have someone come along and take the weights off by accident or knock the weights off. So most of the time I prefer to use pins when I'm doing something like this. Okay, so I pin this down. As you can see, I've got 2 layers of interfacing. I need 2 layers of my woven fusible interfacing. And what I want to do is I'm just going to cut this. I'll bring this a little bit closer, but I don't want you guys to not be able to see. Let me stand up again. here. Okay, and here. Don't worry about it being perfect, okay? Accurate cutting is equally as important as accurate sewing. Accurate pattern making is equally as important as accurate sewing. Accurate pressing is equally as important as accurate sewing, accurate pattern making, okay? So though everything, they all go hand in hand. You can't skip one and cut corners when you're pattern making and try to get a great garment. You don't want to do that. You want to do things in a proper way, especially for those of you who are looking to be entrepreneurs in the sewing space and entrepreneurs in the fashion space. You need to make sure your skill set is on a certain level. And you want to, a lot of times, you know, hear, well, I want to charge $500 for a wedding gown, okay? But you've never made a wedding gown before, okay? Which means you need to have a series of times when you just practice certain things that are, that go into making a wedding gown. So if you've never made something before, and this is what I highly recommend that you don't do. Don't say you can make something if you've never made it before. Practice it first and then decide whether or not you can take on that particular task. Because a lot of times as beginner sewers, we're excited about our skill set, we're excited about what we're doing, and we want to sew to sell, or we want to be in the entrepreneurial space, and we say we can do things that we can't do. If you've never worked with leather before, don't tell someone you're going to make a leather jacket. Like, that's just a no-no. So you want to work within your skill set and master that thing that you're good at first. Then take more classes, get more knowledge, get more information, and advance and build upon that foundation to become intermediate and advanced. So here we go. I have my 4 panels of muslin, okay? 2, 3, 4, okay? And I have 2 panels of interfacing. Don't get confused. You have to keep these separate. What I normally would do is, I'm the type of person, sometimes if I'm rushing, I make a mistake, especially if 2 things look alike. If something looks alike, I'm like, okay, that's my muslin, this is my interfacing. And as you can see, the interfacing and muslin look exactly alike. They're not, they're different, okay? So I pin my interfacings together to keep them away from my muslin, and to also specify that this is my interfacing, okay? Sometimes I'll see people do things like they'll put 2 pins in their interfacing, and then they'll put 1 pin in their muslin, so they can see, they know this is my muslin, this is my interfacing. So I take my interfacing, I just want to put that to the side. I want to grab my muslin panels, and I want to transition and bring my ironing platform over. Move this out of the way. Okay. So, and I'll make sure you guys can see. I don't want to, I'm going to push this in actually. Okay. And there. All right, here we go. All right, so I need my, of course, 2 of my muslin panels. Pick 2, any 2, okay? 1, 2. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. Just don't let it be your interfacing. Not yet. Okay, so I have my 2 muslin panels, right? Then of course I need my iron, okay? The conversations that we had about irons, don't worry about if your iron is top of the line or, you know, the iron. Get something that works properly. Get something that makes steam. Get something that functions properly. This is Hamilton Beach. I've used this in fashion education for the past 20 plus years. It's an excellent iron. They last when they break within maybe 7-8 years. I get rid of them, replace them. Get what you can afford, but get something that just functions properly, okay? So I have my Hamilton Beach. Turn my security feature off by letting it face down, making sure it's on a cotton iron setting, making sure it's filled with water, okay? So what I want to do is take 2 of my muslin panels. I'm going to push my chair back a little. That's what you're hearing. I'm going to grab my interfacing, okay? I'm going to take my pins out of my interfacing, and I'm going to look at my interfacing carefully. Once again, now I'm going to put this to the side. And I want to take one of my muslin panels, one of my interfacing panels. So one muslin panel, one interfacing panel. That's what I need. They do look a little bit different. Like this is a little bit grayer to me. I don't know if you all can see that or not. So I want to take one of my muslin panels, one of my interfacing panels. I want to feel my interfacing. On this side of my interfacing is glue. The iron is going to heat this and it's going to melt it and it's going to stick it to my muslin panel. I do not want my iron to ever touch this side of the interfacing, okay? The reason being is because if it's glue and it gets on your iron, it's going to be difficult to get that glue residue all the way off your iron. So we want to try to avoid pitfalls like that. So in situations like this, don't rush. Take your time. That's why I always encourage create a sample. Practice makes progress. Practice it first outside of the confines of a garment so you understand what you're supposed to be doing. So here's my interfacing. This is the glue side. You can feel it's kind of scratchy. This side is smooth. I want the glue side to go face down on any one of this side or this side. Pick one, any one. If this was my garment, I would pick the wrong side of my fabric of my garment. If I have a wrong side is a side that has chalkiness or whiteness, and then the other side may be a print. The wrong side, I want this to always go on the wrong side of my fabric. In this case, I'm just picking a side of my muslin, and I am making this lay down on my muslin, okay? And my iron is ready. I don't want the glue to touch my iron, okay? So what I want to do is take my iron, okay? I want to start on one end. I want to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want to move down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Same thing on the end. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remove my iron, okay? You don't want to interface like this because the iron needs to heat up each space, melt the glue, and then adhere the glue to your muslin, okay? So as you can see, it now became one piece. When I have edges like that, where sometimes you'll find that your interfacing will spread, okay, as you're ironing it, and the glue makes that happen, I just go back and I even it up, okay? Because it's more important. My outer shell, my original pattern is more important than the shape of my interfacing for right now, okay? So if I have any like interfacing edges that I see kind of hanging off, I just even them out, okay? There we go, clean that up. Got my first panel. I now want to make another panel like this. Now, this is what you want to do. See how it now starts to look identical? I want to now write on this side that my interfacing is on, okay? Find the side my interfacing is on. So on this side, I'm going to write a small W, which tells me wrong side, okay? Small W, because they start to look alike. After a while, it just starts to look alike. Now, I saw this. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. See how that's peeling up a little bit? That just means my iron wasn't on there long enough. So I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it off, okay? Now it's nice and smooth, stuck on there the way I need it to be. I want to do my next 2 panels, okay? Here I am. Take my muslin, lay it out, okay? Here we go again. Here's my woven fusible interfacing. See, it's kind of scratchy kind of side, shiny. I don't want that side to touch my iron. I want that side to go face down on one side, pick a side, any side of a muslin panel. I want to lay it flat, and as you can see, it's the same shape as my muslin panel. Take my iron. I want to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Same thing. 2, 1. Okay. Now, again, for anyone who's just joining us, what is that? That is the allowing the iron to heat the adhesive, melt it, and stick it to our muslin. okay? We go back out. Again, I just want to even out. For some reason, and I've always noticed this with woven fusible interfacing, it will, when I use it, it'll spread. Like when I put it on a panel, even though the panels are cut identically, it has a tendency to spread over the sides. I believe that has something to do with the glue. I'm just gonna assume it has something to do with the glue. But ever since I've, been using this since, design school, college days, it's always had that particular thing. Sometimes what you'll find is like, even sometimes we'll make the interfacing a little bit smaller than the actual panel, so that way, if it does melt and spread, it only spreads to certain, it doesn't spread outside of the edges of the fabric, it just spreads within that. So you'll find that sometimes when you're making a garment, and we will get to that. So as you can see, okay, I have my 2 muslin panels with the interfacing. I want to go back and of course do the same thing with this one. I want to write W, and I'm double checking. Yeah, because see, it starts to look alike. I don't know what it is. It's just all this muslin. It's just all together, and I just get confused sometimes. The way you eliminate that confusion is you just put a small W there. Okay. So I want to I'm basically creating a right and a left. That's why I put the W's at opposite ends, because sometimes what you'll find is that, and this happens to a lot of beginners, you'll find that sometimes when you're cutting, you'll cut 2 right sleeve or 2 left sleeves when you should have a right and a left sleeve. So when I'm working in muslin, I clearly always mark the wrong side, or the side that represents the wrong side for me, and I put them at opposite ends so I can now create a right side of my body and the left side of my body. Okay, so what I want to do now is let's sew. Okay, we're going to go to the machine, and I am going to switch my camera so you all can see, and move my machine into place like so. Okay, and what I want to do now is, and I want to give you guys, I always want to give you a clear sewing view. The reason being is because what I'm finding as I researched a lot of beginner sewer tutorials, what I was finding is that there were no close-up shots of people sewing. And that was like a little bit, I didn't understand it, because in order for my students, whenever I taught them, they would always have to see what my hands were doing. And so when I taught someone how to use the machine, whether it's in video form or live or in classroom settings, I always wanted them to see what the machine was doing while I was sewing. So it's so important that if whatever beginner tutorial you choose, that you choose a beginner tutorial that allows you to see the person's hands while they're sewing. It's important, because it's easy for someone to say, I stitched this down at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Well, what does that look like? And for those of us who have learning differences, we need to be able to see what you're doing. So that's important. So what I did is, and I'll pull back just a little so you all can see, I have one of my panels that has my interfacing, okay? As you can see, there's my little W I wrote. And I have one of my plain muslin panels. So one of the panels without interfacing and one of the panels with interfacing. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take these 2 panels. Because this is my wrong side, okay, I'm going to do right sides together, okay? So I'm going to put right sides together, which means, and I'm going to switch screens real quick because I want you all to see this. Okay, I want my raw edges to go together, like so. And I want to take a pin, and I want to run a pin through the edge of that, just to keep them in place. Some of you all may need to pin this completely. That's fine, okay? So, as you can see, raw edges together, okay? Raw edges always stay together. If you need more pins, add more pins. Keep your pins perpendicular to your edge. Don't do this, okay? Keep your pins perpendicular to your edge and keep the pin point on the end or on the edge, because if your needle of your machine goes across this, you want it to go across the thinner part of the pin, not where the head is or where the thicker part of the pin is, because this obviously is a little thicker than the end of the pin, okay? And if your needle hits that, it's gonna break your needle. So let's go back to our machine. And as you can see, I want to sew this down at 1/2 inch seam allowance. That's what I need it to be. 1/2 inch seam allowance. And there's my 1/2 inch mark here on my machine. I'll zoom in a little so you all can see. Put my camera up just a little bit. And as you can see, here's my 1/2 inch marking on my machine guide, my seam allowance guide. Remember, 1/2 inch is 1/2 inch seam allowance guide on your machine is a 1/2 inch away from your needle, from the center position. Your needle's in its center position, which means it's not to the right and it's not to the left. It's in its center position, okay? So my 1/2 inch seam allowance guide is a 1/2 inch away from my needle at its center position. So it's 1/2 inch over to the right, or if you're left-handed, 1/2 inch over to the left. So I want to insert my sample. I want the top of my sample to lay right in front of where my needle's going to go down into the machine, okay? I want the raw edges of my sample to lay right up against the 1/2 inch seam allowance guide. I want to lower my foot, okay? And I am going to take this out. It's just me. After a while, I don't need it. So, but you keep that in there, okay? If you need it, you just want to go over it really, really slow. I want to start slow. Of course, I want to back stitch. I want the raw edges of my seam to align with the 1/2 inch seam allowance guide on my machine, okay? And if you go over a pin, just go real slow. There you go, okay? Raw edges together. Keep your raw edges on top of each other. Raw edges together, okay? Keep them on top. You manipulate them. You make them. I know sometimes I would have students say that the fabric went this way, okay? You have to manipulate the fabric. Make sure your raw edges are laying on top of each other, okay? So there. Raw edges together. The raw edges of my seam are laying up against my 1/2 inch seam allowance guide on my machine. Raw edges together. 1/2 inch. And go all the way out. Back stitch. Don't worry about the bottom being uneven. We're just making a sample, okay? Practice makes progress, not perfect, okay? Lifted my foot and took my sample out to the left of my machine, okay? And I want to now go to, of course, the process, of course, is I'm going to my iron and switch. Okay, here we are. Put this to the side because I already have the other half already done. It's the magic of television. So here we have this. I want to clean it up, okay? I know I'm a stickler for that. But I'm just going to say this. Those of you who want to sew at a certain level, you have to now put good sewing techniques into practice. Not just so you can hurry up and wear something to the party, but that you can wear something to the party, wash it, and it lasts, and you wear it again and again and again. So that's where good sewing technique comes in, okay? So what I want to do is press this flat and open. Okay. Press my seam allowance flat and open. Oops, I missed a little bit up here. Okay, it gets hot as you do it, so press that flat and open. And not only do we want to press the interior, which would be where our seam allowance is, but we want to press our exterior as well. Just pull this a little bit. I pull it to open up my seam just a little bit. Okay, nice and flat. It should be nice and flat and beautiful. Okay, as you can see, it should be nice and flat and beautiful. Look at my interior. Okay, so now what I want to do is take this and I want to take this off, that's driving me crazy. I want to fold this close, okay? Right on my seam. Look at my seam, look how beautiful my seam is, okay? It closed up automatically. Fold this close. And press it flat, nope, close, okay? And just seeing this roll. I don't want this to roll. In there, okay. So here's my sample, okay. What does this represent? Okay, this represents, I'm gonna move my iron. This represents, now look at my garment. I'm gonna put it on my ironing table. Push my sleeves back. Take this, okay. This would represent this, okay. That's what that would represent. See that? And then I have one that's already prepped and made. Actually, let's do it this way. So this will represent this. Okay, I have one that's already prepped and made. Okay, and this would represent this. So you see that? This is what we want. We want to practice these first in muslin. We want to practice them in muslin first because we need to know exactly how this works. We need to know, okay, does this go like this? And what are my markings supposed to look like? And where is that supposed to go? So I want to do all of that first, practice it first in muslin before I do it in here. Because once you execute a snap in your garment and it's done incorrectly, it's a wrap. You can't go back and, you know, undo a hole that you punched into your garment. You have to go back and remake that whole front piece. And if your goal is to get to be intermediate and advanced in industry-based standards for sewing, you would want to go back and recut that front piece. But you don't want to make your mistakes in your garments if you can avoid it. Okay, so I have my two handles already made. I want this to look more like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few stitches, and I'm actually going to even these out because this one, the sample that I made earlier, is a little bit longer than I want it to be, and so I'm just going to make them even. Take that off, okay. So I want these two to be identical. So I want this to go like this, and I want this to be like this, and I want, when I put my snaps on, I'm kind of going to lay it like that, okay? But I need to make the markings for my snap, and I need to finish prepping this. So this is already prepped. The way I'm doing this, and if you look at the sample, again, look at my one that's finished. Look at my top stitch. This is where your design, you know, aesthetic comes in. Some people do 2 lines of top stitch. Some people do 1. Some people do top stitch here, and then there's double top stitch, which are like 1/4 inch apart from each other. That is going to be all about your aesthetic of what you want to see. Because some of these top stitches aren't functional. They're just for aesthetic purposes. Some stitches, of course, seaming and putting things together, those are functional. But then when you get to things like this, I could have gone without, you know, this second line of top stitch. I could have just done this single one and then done this one, or done this single one and done a double top stitch right next to this, which would have been 1/4 inch away. So I just, you know, randomly mimicked what, you know, I thought it should be, okay? So what I want to do is this. I want to, and I'm going to actually flip this over so I can remake my markings. So I want to take this and I'm going to make my first top stitch line here, okay? And the way that I do that is go back to my machine, and this is going to be the width of the foot, okay? It's going to be the width of the foot. So I lower this down like that. And remember how we talked about the width of the foot is exactly 1/4 inch. So that will be my 1/4 inch seam lines. And I back stitch over them. So what is the width of the foot? I'm taking the folded edge, clean finished edge of my sample, lining it up with the edge of my foot. The clean finished edge of my sample, lining it up with the edge of my foot. Next stitch, of course, I want to lift my foot and pull my sample out to the left, okay? Then what I want to do is, I might do something decorative, I may not. I find that sometimes my right placket, which is like on one side on the right, one on the left, is they're different with top stitch, and that's fine as well. So I'm going to I'm going to do 1-inch seam allowance guide just to give this a more like decorative look. So here, lower my foot, insert my sample. I'm using the finished edge of my fabric, my clean finished edge, and I'm lining that up with the 1-inch marking. This is just a stitch line that I'm doing to kind of like add a little bit of an aesthetic. Remember, I'm practicing this in muslin, in a sample, before I become overwhelmed by having to do it in an actual garment. So lift my foot, pull my sample out to the left, okay? And I want to go back to my workspace where my iron is. Now, of course, clean it up. So here I go, cleaning up all these loose threads in there, okay? And I have my 2 panels. Remember we talked about earlier. All right, one represents this side, okay? And one represents this side. And then I'm going to put my markings for my snaps on here, okay? And we're gonna do a few of them. I'm not gonna do the whole line, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do the markings. I'm gonna show you all how to do the markings, okay? So this represents my right placket, okay, or right center front placket, and my left center front placket, which eventually is gonna have the snaps, and they're going to overlap and snap in place, okay? So I want to move my finished garment out of the way. I'm going to take my ironing table away as well and get to my workspace. Okay, now I need my snaps. I love kits. Like, I love doing things like this. I love, you know, this used to be my favorite part of designing, like the details. I love the details. So I want to open up my kit, okay? Now, I once again, I'm an instructions person. Pick one, anyone. Pick black, pick, you know, your gunmetal, you have silver, you have gold. I think there's something in here that's like, there's a gray one. There's gray, there's gunmetal, there's black and gold. So I'm gonna go with gold, okay? So the first thing I need 4 parts, okay? The 4 parts are my cap, okay? And this is the cap. This is what it looks like. Okay, and as you can see, it's got that little thing there. I'm gonna lay them out here. And then I need my socket, okay, which looks like that. See that? And then I need my stud, which looks like a smaller one. Not that. Here we go. Which looks like this. Okay. And I'll lay that out. And then I need my post, okay, which I see one if I can get it. Okay, which looks like this. It's a little bit longer than my stud, okay. See, okay. I lay them out together, okay. Then what I want to do is whatever they're giving me, whatever items they're giving me, I want to take them out, okay. So they're giving me a hole punch, and this one too. So they gave me a hole punch, which is this, okay. They gave me the concave tool, which is this, okay. And see, it's got like a little, kind of like, looks like a little small little dip or bowl in the bottom. It's my concave tool. And then they gave me this is the convex tool. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay, put that in place. And then they're giving me, this is the, like, you put the socket on top of this, and this is where you like actually strike the hammer. Okay. So, it's like, this is what they call the setter base. Okay. This is the setter base. It looks like that on one side and the side. Okay. So I need that. Now, somebody was saying to me one time, my students, they were like, what's this? So this is basically dividers, just in case you want to go back in and you want to use the box to kind of like fill in certain spaces if you don't need it for your, see, it just makes it kit, but if you put that in there, you won't be able to put your tools back in there. So close this up. I don't need the rest of this. And what I want to do is this. I need a mallet, okay? I always recommend getting a rubber mallet, okay? Get a rubber mallet. Don't use a hammer. A hammer a lot of times will destroy these tools, okay? Get a rubber mallet. I have a couple of these that I keep handy. Then what you want to do is this. Now, this is where I'm going to switch it up, change it up a little bit, okay? The way I'm gonna switch it up is this. This is the tool that they give you to make the hole. What I find is that in the past when I use this, and I'll show this to you all, it's not sharp enough. It doesn't go through my fabric the way I need it to, okay? It doesn't go through my fabric the way I need it to, so it's not sharp enough. So what I wanna do is this, and I'm just going to, hold on for 1 second. Let me just grab something really quickly. Okay, so, all right, so I find that it doesn't really give me what I need it to give. It's not giving what I need it to give, which is cutting, okay? So I replace this with my awl, okay? This is an awl. My awl I use a lot of times in pattern making to make different markings. My patterns require different markings, and this is an awl. This is an old one. Like, it used to have a cap on there for safety precautions, but I don't keep this in a bag. I don't keep it in my toolkit. I keep it someplace where I can like just go and grab it, because it can be a little precarious, a little dangerous. So I want to keep this out of, you know, harm, keep this out of the way of like my kids, stuff like that, and myself also. I never want to put this in my bag. So I use this instead of this. So I grabbed my awl instead of this, because this doesn't cut and it doesn't make the hole as precise and as accurate as I need it to. So I use my awl. So I grab my awl. So first things first, you want to make your markings first, okay? You want your markings to be first. I just want to check something real quickly. Is that too? No, that's perfect. Okay. So I want these two to go like that. Okay, so I want to make my markings first, okay? And I want to, I'm just gonna like in a sample, because in your real garment, when you make your patterns will have markings for where the snaps, where the buttons are supposed to go. They'll have markings on the pattern, which already tell you that. But since we're doing just a sample, I'm gonna make my own markings, okay? So I'm just gonna start at the top, because this one I started at the 1 inch mark, and actually gonna make see how far in. Okay, I went at 1 inch. So I'm gonna go 3/4 of an inch in from my finished, clean finish edge, folded edge. And I'm just gonna make a line. So I went 3/4 of an inch in, and I may wanna come out a little bit. Let's do 5/8. I feel like 5/8 is better. So I went 5/8 of an inch on here, measured in, I'm making a line, going down. Just make sure it's accurate. Okay, I just want to connect those lines. Nice and straight with my pencil, okay? And that's the great thing about practicing things first. You can do it in pencil. You make a mistake, no big deal, okay? Now what I want to do is this. I want to start from the top, stay on that line, and I'm gonna just make a small mark on that line. Just make a small mark. 1 inch, I measured 1 inch from the top down on my line that I made a small mark, okay? Then I take my ruler. I'm going to, remember, the width of my ruler is 2 inches. So I'm going to put my ruler on that mark, keep my line on that, keep the mark of my ruler on the line that I made, make another mark, okay? Use the width of my ruler. Go down again, stay on the line that I made, measure down 2 inches, the width of my ruler is 2 inches, and make another mark. And then again, okay? You don't want your fastenings or your closures to be too close together. And that's just my iron going off, okay? So then I would just want to kind of see. Let's do it this way. Did I make them in the wrong direction? No, okay. Just went the other way. There we go. But I want this to be on top because I want my shorter ends to be on top. Okay, so there. Okay, I'm just gonna move this down. Move my other marking down because I want them to line up perfectly. So I'll take my ruler, and this is just me, and that's why I said, you know, practice it first because I felt like that marking is a little bit too far up, going back in and just correcting that. Okay, I just want to correct that one because I'm gonna actually, that's where I'm gonna do the example. Okay, so don't be afraid to make mistakes in your samples, okay? Don't be afraid to make mistakes. So that's gonna go there, overlap a little bit. Okay, so what I wanna do is this. I'm gonna take my awl first, okay? As it tells me in the instructions, it says punch a hole with the punch tool. Remember, our punch tool, I can show you this right now. It's not giving. It's like, I don't care how hard I press down, it is not giving. So what I want to do is take my awl, okay, and I'll come up, find the center, find where that line is, there, and keep your fingers away. I want to just punch a hole with my awl, okay, like that, go all the way through and come out, see that? Okay, do one at a time. Don't do all of them first, okay? Do one at a time. So I'm just gonna practice and show you guys the example of this one, okay? So it says punch that first, okay? Then it says what they want you to do is take a small, like take a scrap piece of fabric. You don't want to scratch the surface of your finished snap. So take a scrap of fabric, lay a scrap of fabric in between your tool, where you're going to be hammering, okay? So you want to, the setter base, lay a scrap of fabric between the setter base and your cap. That's the first one you need. You need your cap first, okay? So my cap goes on the setter base, okay? I want to, other way, sorry. Facing up, okay? It says I want to put the cloth between the cap and the setter base to avoid scratches, okay? Insert the cap through the hole, okay? So I want to insert my cap through the hole on this side, okay? Like that. See that? Okay. Then what I want to do is this. I want to then cover the socket cover it. Okay, so I want to cover this. And that's why I told you I'm an instructions person. I'm always going to follow the instructions. That, I want to take that, and I want that to go like that. Okay, I want that to go like that. So I'm going like that. And I just want to make sure I'm always, boom, got it. Okay, that to go like that, right? Then it says, place the convex tool vertically on the socket, strike with a hammer. Okay, here's my convex tool. Okay, that's this tool. Okay, this tool. I want to take that. I want to insert it into there. Okay, I'm just going to stand over this. I want this to be straight up and down. And I want to hit it a few times. Pull this out. Okay, make sure they're connected, and they are. Okay, see? Okay, it's together. All right. Now, one of the things that I like to do is, and this is just for me, I like to test it. Okay, it does work. Pull that out. okay? Because sometimes what happens is if you don't put that far enough down in there, your part that's supposed to connect to that won't fit. So you want to make sure, I just did a small test to make sure that fits, okay? That's my first piece, okay? Then what I want to do is this, put that to the side. Now it's saying punch a hole in my other panel, okay? My other placket. So punch a hole, goes like that. Watch your fingers. I'm right on the mark that I made, making a nice hole there. Okay, once I punch that hole, what it says is insert the post through that hole, okay? So I want to take my post, I want to insert that. And I might need to open this up a little bit more through there, okay? See that? Okay, then what I want to do, it says, after I insert the post through the hole, put the stud over the post, okay? Here it is. This goes over this like this, okay? And I want to take this back to my setting tool, okay? And there, put that there, okay? Then what it says, place the concave tool, okay, vertically on the cap. Pound lightly with the hammer, okay? So here's my concave tool. I want to put that on top of the cap, like so. And I want to, I'm standing up. Okay, in place, all right? And make sure, okay, it's on there. There's your back piece, okay? So you have your post and your concave. Use the concave tool to get the stud on top of the post. Now, let's test it. Okay, dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's see. It works, okay? So what I'm gonna go back and do is I'm gonna practice all the other snaps along here. I'm going to go through the process again, punch my hole, do what I need to do to follow that process to be able to do another snap, okay? So what I would say is this. Practice it first in your sample first. Practice it in a sample first before you do it in a garment. Practice it in a sample first before you do it in a garment, okay? Because it's important that you make whatever mistakes you made. There were some things that I had to adjust. I want to adjust that in a sample, okay? Can you envision this as the front of a shirt? Yes. So if I lay this in front like this, before I even get to do it in a garment, I've already practiced it so that I can envision how it's supposed to look and actually be down here because my hood would be there, okay? So I want to be able to envision. Those of us, for me, I can tell you, as someone who has learning differences as far as like reading something and applying it, that's not me. Like I can't read something and do it. I have to read it, see the visual or see a demo and then do it, okay? And then I have to practice it first before I actually apply it to the final thing. And that's really what you should be doing as a beginner sewer. Practicing it first before you do it into a final garment. Because once you do it in the garment, it's done. You can't go back and fix it. Something as complex as using a snap and applying a snap, once you punch a hole in your fabric, that hole is there. So you want to make sure you practice something like this in a sample first before you actually do it in a garment, okay? So I want to thank you all for joining me today. This is, I can't tell you all how passionate I feel about this particular thing that I'm doing, which is bringing you all the sewing tutorials specifically geared towards the novice, the non-sewer, and the neurodiverse sewer. It's so important that we diversify our learning as sewing guides, and those of us who are teaching beginner sewers, we have to diversify the way we're teaching, and we have to diversify for all learners. So it's important that we sort of pull back and slow things down. Can I do this in like an hour, half an hour? Yes. But for a beginner sewer, I'm not teaching you speed. I want to teach you accuracy. And once again, I want to teach you based upon industry standards, not just to make a garment, but to take these techniques and be able to use them however you choose in a garment, home decor, children's wear, men's wear, evening wear, however you choose to use it. I want you to be able to go back and just be able to find a simple, quick tutorial that speaks to you and how you learn to understand it. So once again, we are Royal Fulani Living Sew School. I am your sew guide, Nina. We are on YouTube, Royal Fulani Living Sew School. We're on every single platform, social media platform, Instagram, Facebook. We are on TikTok. We're even on Threads, and we're on Pinterest. And you will find our pre-recorded sewing tutorials on those platforms and on our YouTube channel. And you will, of course, find our lives on our YouTube channel. So we're just here to help. And once again, our motto is, and our mission is, we're Royal Fulani Living Sew School. We are giving the confidence and building the community of the neurodiverse, novice, and newbie sewer, one creative at a time. So I will see you guys next week, and